exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant.
President Trump responding to James Comey's 8647 post on Instagram, a picture of some shells. We all know what it means. We all understand what it means. Comey took it down. He said, I knew it was political, I just didn't know what it meant. Sure, you never looked it up. Load of Bravo Sierra. Truckload of Bravo Sierra. He should have a visit. It's Michael Pelkin for Chris Plant of the Chris Plant Show. Thank you for being here. It's Friday, so we celebrate Fridays. We're going to attempt to have a big celebration. I have a friend who is a political artist of some note. His name is Sabo. If you've seen his work, you know what I'm talking about. If you go back like 10 years ago, Sabo is the artist who created the image of Ted Cruz covered in prison tattoos. That was kind of his breakthrough, but he has done great work in terms of mocking the left with his art. He created the flying monkeys that were campaigning, like from The Wizard of Oz, that were campaigning from Hillary Clinton. And about 8 to 10 years ago, Sabo, maybe even a little bit longer, Sabo created a piece of art, a little controversial. It featured a toilet seat that was Barack Obama. And the toilet seat was Barack Obama's open mouth. Let's just say it. You know, not everybody has the same taste in art, but it made waves, and it was freedom of expression, was it not? Isn't that artistic expression? Whether or not you found it to be tasteless or hilarious or maybe a little bit of both. But Sabo got a visit from the Secret Service. He wasn't saying 86 Barack Obama, but it was, in the eyes of some people, a lack of tasteful depiction of the President of the United States. I'm sure if you look it up, Obama toilet seat, you will see it. He sold a few of them, I guess. But he received a visit from the United States Secret Service. It was 11 years ago, as a matter of fact. A special agent showed up at his door and left a door tag, you know, one of those little hangers on the doorknob that said, we'd like to talk to you about possible ID theft. Really? The conversation was not about ID theft. But the agent left his name and number and said, you can call 24/7. And Sabo, who's still active in the world, he's still putting out some very interesting political art these days, has said maybe people need to report this Comey thing to the FBI. And the FBI knows about it. Pam Bondi knows about it. Kash Patel knows about it. It's just going to be interesting to see how it's handled. As we explained last hour, the non-coincidental reality that Comey has a book coming out next week on the 20th. That's a brand new novel coming out. And gee, all of a sudden, we haven't heard from James Comey in forever. And suddenly he does something that thrusts him into the public eye. How amazing is that? James Comey finds some seashells that are gathered on the seashore that say 8647. We all know what it means. Everybody, I worked as a busboy and I learned what that meant. If you've ever listened to a Tom Waits song, you've heard the reference to the term, I was 86th from your list. We know what it means. So, Comey posted it, deleted it, now says, I didn't know, honest to God. And by the way, I have a book coming out, and everyone's rushing to defend him on this. I'm not going to defend him. I hope he experiences the joy of a interrogation. Let's just see what happens. See if we get any more updates on this. And as you heard, President Trump not accepting the ignorance. Ignorance, no excuse for violating the law. Beyond despicable. That's what Senator Tommy Tuberville called it. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if there's any response. Tulsi Gabbard is, as we mentioned earlier as well, calling for the arrest because the people that have been threatening her, the Director of National Intelligence, with death, they are locked up, as they should be. So, Comey, maybe you'll have a little visit. We'll find out. A lot of things to get to today, as well as trying to wrap up the summary of what the president has accomplished this week. Just as we were in the break, before this hour kicked off, there was a notice that aboard Air Force One, President Trump was holding a call with Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, also with Emmanuel Macron of France, with Keir Starmer of England, of the United Kingdom, and with Fred Merz of Germany, which I thought Fred Merz was the Ricardo's neighbor on I Love Lucy. But that's apparently the name of the new German leader is Friedrich Merz. So Fred Merz is running Germany these days. Make your own comedy, people. Life is funny. But the president, who did not get the sit-down he wanted between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, is still working on the plane on his way home. This trip is just work. And I wonder if we're going to get some sort of official declaration out of this meeting. But it was going on as we were getting ready to kick off this hour. President Trump holding a summit, if you will, via the phones on Air Force One. The guy never stops working. It really is remarkable. One of the things that has been a sticking point from this week, and I think it started last week, the announcement of the apparent gift of a 747 plane from Qatar, a brilliant, beautiful plane that's worth about $400 million going to be given to the United States to be used as a backup to Air Force One, which is almost 40 years old. And the left lost its mind. Yeah, Jamie Raskin, who is just saying this is wrong, this can't happen, it has to be approved by Congress. Any gifts to the country have to be approved by Congress. That may be the case, but Donald Trump isn't saying it's a gift to him. Donald Trump never said it was a gift to him. He said it was going to the Department of Defense. And the Trump administration is saying they're going to follow the law so the Democrats can calm down. But here's the truth. Here's the reality. Here's what you're not hearing. And I think this moment is going to likely scuttle any of the outrage on the story. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma was on CNN yesterday with author/host Jake Tapper, who has a book coming out next week about why Democrats covered up for Joe Biden. Criminal. But Tapper interviewing Mark Wayne Mullen talking about the plane. And Senator Mullen gave us a story that I think this should absolutely pour cold water on every Democrat who's screeching about this.
The United States take a 747, but here's what's interesting to me. What the media isn't telling you, what no one's talking to you about, is this same 747 has been in negotiations for a year. The Biden administration is the one that started these conversations. It didn't start underneath the Trump administration. Why? Because we need a backup for Air Force One, because right now the President of the United States is flying around on a 40-year-old plane, and there is no backup for it. The backup we had, the airframe started having structural issues. No one's discussing that part. They're just discussing that the deal ended with President Trump. Maybe the media doesn't know. Maybe I'll give them a pass. Maybe you didn't know. I'll give you the pass. I'll give you a pass on that one. But the fact is This conversation started with Qatar.
So the whole deal started with the Biden administration. This has been in progress since Joe Biden was in office. And why? Because the backup to Air Force One has structural problems. You have heard none of that. We've heard zero about that. And why? Because it's inconvenient, because it takes away all the other craziness. The Democrats are saying, oh, he's taking the gift. He's going to take it for himself. He's going to put it at the Trump Museum, what he's done. Stop it. I will guarantee you that this is going to put the kibosh on a lot of the outrage from the left. They'll still find time. They'll still find a way to get into this. But this is the truth about the plane. It was offered to the Biden administration. They were actually talking about it. How are we going to get this done? Because you have to figure out that you have to make sure the plane isn't coated and covered and embedded with all kinds of spyware, etc. You have to learn about all of the necessary avionics that have to be installed on a plane like Air Force One. So the Biden administration was at the root of this. That's really interesting. You only get part of the story, right? We only get part of the story from these people. And then when this comes out, it's like when Kilmore Abrego Garcia, we learned, oh, he was probably into trafficking. We got body cams from the officers in Tennessee. Oh, yeah, and his wife filed for orders of protection. He was beating the hell out of her. Oh, yeah, that's suddenly kind of gotten really quiet, that story. The rumor spreads halfway around the world before the truth puts its pants on, and we're trying to put the pants on right now. But just watch this story go away. Watch it quickly. Let's grab a couple of quick calls here before we take a break. 888-630-9625. Checking in with Bob, who claims he's calling from Moscow. Moscow, Iowa, Bob? Is that where you're calling from?
Moscow, Iowa. You mean Moscow, Idaho? No, Moscow, Russia. I've been here 8 years.
Are we needing to break you out? Are you in detention or something?
No. But getting to James Comey, he, because of his position as being FBI director, knew exactly what he was doing. And what they need to do is they need to put him in Rikers, in isolation, no bond, let him sit there for a few days, then search all his phone records. Who's to say he did not have information or started the process for the first assassination attempt of Donald Trump? Because obviously the Secret Service and the FBI were had their hands under their butts. So maybe he was the one that was coordinating all this.
I'm putting you down as a vote for serious investigation, lockdown, and go through everything. Give him the informational proctoscope. That's what you'd like us to do, Bob, correct?
Yes, sir. If they want to show that there's truth and justice, that there's not a two-tiered criminal system for the rich and everyone else, they need to do this with They did it with all they did it all with insurrectionists. In 2000.
The January 6th people, I have to correct you, there was no insurrection. But yes, you're right. They did it to the January 6th people to the extreme. So that's a good point, Bob. Thank you. Appreciate you calling. Stay safe. Stay sane. That's a good thing. Have to take a break. My goodness, the phones are lit up here. We'll try and get to those. And I still owe you Springsteen, Dr. Gorka. There's news about the flight controllers as we have another outage at another major airport. Things went dark in Denver. Not a good thing when you got 20, 30 planes in the air. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris.
Welcome back to the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant. It is difficult to keep up on everything. It is like a news whack-a-mole today, covering the president returning on his way back from his trip to the Middle East and trying to hold a telephone summit with European leaders as well as Zelensky. We'll give you an update on that when we get it. Following any updates on the Comey story, there seems to be a little bit of momentum building around the story of James Comey posting a message that says 8647. Those of us who have all of our faculties and above a third grade education understand that is a call to assassinate the president, and it's not right. It should not be done, and he should face the full weight of the law. And I want to get one more call on this because I think Marcy in New Jersey may have figured out some of this better than anyone else. Hello, Marcy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. What's your take on this?
I'm just wondering if anyone has identified the beach he's walking on. Could he just be picking up Biden's messages?
Wow, so you're saying this might be Rehoboth, Delaware? And maybe that was a Biden-created message? Which Biden, though? Jill? Hunter? Do we know?
Take your pick.
That's a good point. We should, I'm sure they can geolocate both the beach and the sand that is there. We could do an analysis of that. Or the shells. I think this is probably AI. And that if you do a search on social media and you put in Comey and the word shells, you will see some very clever messages that are being sent back to Mr. Comey. And most of them are AI created. I don't think they have been generated organically. But there you go. Thank you very much, Marcy. That's a very good point. That's a good point from the region. We appreciate it. Let me grab one more here. Let's talk to Chris in San Diego, following up on what we talked about, the plane from the Qataris. Hello, Chris.
Good morning, Michael. It's great talking to you. Thanks for filling in.
My pleasure.
I don't know how we can not accept this plane. Why can't we use it? Like I think Chris was saying before, that the modifications required to the plane would be so extensive, it'd take too long. So what if we use it as we donate it, the Department of Defense donates it to something that's good for all of America, like, say, the Ronald McDonald House. I mean, that's a little far-fetched, but and then I started thinking about it more as like the Patriot Express. Most people
or the Fisher House.
don't know what that is.
Look, that we
exactly. Thank you.
We've done a lot of work with a great charity. There are so many great veterans charities, and this is a good call. I could see it being used for honor flights to D.C. to bring aging veterans to D.C. to see the monuments. I could see it being used for Fisher houses to transport families of veterans who are recovering. There are some good things that can be made from this donation. And look, President Trump is one of 4 presidents in history to eschew a salary in order to truly serve the country. Washington did it. I think Hoover did it. JFK did it. And Trump did it. Only 4 presidents in the history of this country. So that might be a great win out of this situation. Say, the Biden administration thought they were going to take this plane because they started negotiations, but it can't be truly safe. So let's use it to help the families of our wounded veterans. Good call, Chris. Great idea. It's Michael Pelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. Welcome back to The Chris Plant Show. Michael Pelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. He will return on Monday. I have it on good authority, and I am thrilled to be here to wrap up this very historic, monumental week. All kinds of things going on all around the world, here at home as well. Yesterday, there was a Supreme Court hearing about 2 things at one time, which was kind of interesting. It was about the discussion of birthright citizenship, but also really relating to the issue of lower courts and judges slapping injunctions on executive orders and moves by presidents. And in the case of President Trump, setting records for the numbers of injunctions slapped on the actions by this president. And it truly feels like it's the Democrats' end run. They lost the election badly. They lost control of the Senate. They did not regain control of the House. And as such, they find themselves behind the 8 ball and attempting everything they can to block this president. Yesterday, this discussion about whether or not these judges, and there are 600 plus of them who could suddenly be engaged and shut down anything the president was trying to do, this was being discussed. And we didn't get a clear indication yesterday. I don't believe we got a clear indication of which way this was going. However, there was an interesting exchange with the Solicitor General, John Sauer, John Sauer, with Justice Sonia Sotomayor. And I thought I'd share this with you.
Right now, we have multiple courts. We have novel courts who've percolated this issue and said, you're violating precedent. Not only precedent, but the plain meaning of the 14th of the Constitution.
You mean the 14th Amendment of the Constitution? Somehow she had a brain fart there, and the word just didn't come out. But the Solicitor General had a response.
Respectfully, I think what we have are lower courts making snap judgments on the merits that ignore the fundamental principle of the 14th Amendment, that it was about giving citizenship to the children of slaves, not to the children of illegal immigrants who really were not even a very discreet class at that time. And that's the sort of argument that deserves percolation.
There were some people in Congress who argued against the 13th Amendment just because of that. Some people who argued against passing the amendment just because of that, because it would give citizenship to gypsies.
I think the relevant history of the 14th Amendment is the statements of Senator Trumbull, who emphasized that domicile was the key criterion. He said that in a letter to Andrew Jackson, and we've cited our Ninth Circuit briefing a host of decisions that back that up. And got rejected repeatedly. We can go into the history of citizenship, but I still go back to my question.
Well, my question is why the constant interruptions, Justice Sotomayor? Seems a little rude what happened yesterday. I don't know when we're going to get the decision on this. I hope it's sooner rather than later, since this was on the emergency docket, the shadow docket, if you will. This is likely to get some kind of response sooner rather than later. And I do believe, I hope this is going to clarify that these lower court judges should not be allowed to do what they're doing right now. It should not be happening. But yet here we are. We're using judge shopping in order to block the president at any turn because we disagree with the will of the people. Seems highly unconstitutional, if you ask me. I'm not a constitutional scholar. I've often said my legal experience comes from watching Judge Judy and Law and Order. So I don't really have any bona fides here. I want to grab a quick call on this topic. Ron is calling from D.C. to the Chris Plant Show. Welcome, Ron. Did you listen to any of the hearing yesterday?
No, unfortunately, I didn't. Unfortunately, a lot of the news is biased. That, the locals, the main ones and all that stuff, and they seem to be left wing. So it's kind of hard to really decide what's the truth from what, because they're giving you your opinion and not the facts. But
yeah, that's unfortunate.
It's amazing that I see that a judge in Greenbelt is dictating that he wants day-by-day reports from the President of the United States and demanding it. Does he have that kind of power? And I don't understand, how does the states have that kind of power? If that was the case, we would still be the Confederate in the South and so forth. They're demanding. I mean, where does he get this power to tell the president, I want updates to get this illegal alien back here into this country?
You're talking about Judge Boasberg, the guy called Judge Buzzkill?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's the guy who's saying that he was upset that the planes were not turned around and brought back, and he wants contempt charges filed against the President of the United States, against the administration, and until the Supreme Court really rules on this one, and I think that's what the Trump administration is hoping to do, is put all their chips on this story, that if if the lower court judges are told they can't just randomly stop a nationwide action, then it's going to proceed. And this guy Busberg can keep making noise. The administration says they're going to follow the law to the letter of the law, which they are, because all Busberg's statement, or all the Supreme Court's judgment on said was that you had to facilitate. Now, facilitate is a broad term, so the administration currently has a lot of wiggle room on that, but that's what it feels like. They don't have local authority regarding illegal aliens, especially the ones that had deportation orders against them, and that's what we're talking about with Kilmore Abrego Garcia. So that's an interesting argument, but this guy's going to keep making noise because it brings him attention, it brings him publicity, and that's what a lot of them want. It's frustrating, though. Ron, where do you get your news, Ron? Do you stream radio shows like this and Newsmax? Is that how you get your news?
Actually, from here. From your station.
Well, that's a good thing.
Turned me on to the station, and I noticed that when I was listening to the local news, that a lot of things didn't make sense. What was coming from them, of why our situation, why we had higher, prices for food and everything like that, and I couldn't understand from the left wing and mainstream. They weren't explaining why, and when Chris Plant and Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin and Sean Hannity came on this station, I started listening years ago. I'm a vet. And I started listening when they first came on. And I went to job sites, and I used to carry a radio with me, and I used to listen to the station all the time. And I noticed that what you guys were saying was making sense and actually explaining why the situation was bad in the country, where we had high crimes in Democrat cities, and why things are bad. And then you look at the conservative and the Republican cities and stuff, crime has went down, like in New York when Giuliani was in charge. So I've learned a lot, mostly from your station.
Well, that's great, and we appreciate it. I know Chris appreciates the listenership as well. It's a struggle sometimes to cut through, because we don't always get the complete access to the people that the left side of the mainstream media has. But thanks for bringing us along. And you served? You said you were a veteran. Which branch?
Yes, sir. I was in the Navy, and I actually met Chris Plant in 2018 at Fisher House in Pentagon City.
Wow.
And Chris was so nice. Something just made me go down there. I was on the top floor listening to the station on my little AM/FM radio that I carried for years back then. And something said, let's go down there and talk to him after the show. And I talked to him. He shook my hand, and I told him I was a vet, and at the time I was homeless. And he offered to buy me something to eat. And I told him I was fine because I was staying at a shelter provided from the VA. But he was very nice. And I don't think I've met a celebrity that I felt that, comfortable with in my life. And thank God for him and stuff. He opened my eyes. And you too, sir. Well,
you're very kind to me. Chris is a real guy. I attest to that. He's been my friend for a long time, and I appreciate him, and I appreciate you. How's your situation right now? You said you were a homeless vet. Are you good?
It took some time to go through this and that, but finally I ran into some good people, and God bless, I finally got a home, and everything's a lot better now. So
good.
Except for what's going on now with the country, and I'm hoping that's going to eventually iron itself out. I'm disappointed that we went from the COVID, and then now we got the flush of illegal immigrants, if you want to call them that.
Well, I think we're headed the right direction, Ron, and the latest polling data seems to back all of that up, that the right direction, wrong direction number has shifted to the right direction side, and it all starts at the top. And with the new surge in recruiting in military and law enforcement, that tells me that there's a whole lot of right stuff coming out of the leadership of the country. But I also have friends inside the Veterans Administration, so I'm happy to hear that you're hopefully you're getting the right treatment from the VA. And here's my big gripe, Ron. Look, we're coming up on Memorial Day, where we remember all those who gave their lives in service to this country. And we have Memorial Day and we have Veterans Day. And then we have Pride Month. I would like that situation to be reversed. You have Pride Day and we have Veterans Month, where we honor those who served like you did in the Navy, and we take care of the people who put it all on the line for us. It just seems like our priorities were flipped, and maybe I feel like we're going the right direction. But thank you for your service, number one, for your kind words to Chris and the station and to myself. And I do feel we're going the right direction, sir. So I appreciate you for being there and being there for your country as well. And there he goes, Ron in D.C. Interesting that he brought the radio to the construction site and started realizing that he wasn't being told the truth on other parts of liberal media. Let me grab one more here. Lance is calling from Fairfax, Virginia. Hello, Vance. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. First-time caller. Thanks for what you do. Appreciate it.
Glad you're here, sir. I enjoy doing this. This is fun for me.
That's good. We need people like you to keep pushing the message. That's really important. I'm calling about the federal judge thing. They judge shop. They go to places that they can get the ruling that they want and get some national injunction that stops Trump's agenda. Once it becomes a national thing, why can't we then just go to another court, do the same thing, judge shop, find a judge that then rules in the opposite direction, says, no, what he's doing is legal. That'll create a little conundrum there, and it would be forced to have to go to the Supreme Court then, because there's nothing that says that one federal court has more authority than another federal court or the jurisdictions, and it'll definitely have to be handled by the Supreme Court then. So why can't we just, once they rule it and they make it a national issue because they're doing it nationally, they're not keeping to individual federal districts, go to a different court, says, nope, we think that this is legal, and then who's right then? It has to go to the Supreme Court, and then it'll be a final say.
It's a great question. In some places, in some cases, the administration is doing that. In others, they are expediting to get to the Supreme Court, because once it gets to the Supreme Court, if you believe you've got the win that you can drive it home with the Supreme Court, then it's done. So they are analyzing it based on what I understand on that level. And if you've got a case that you can make, they're making it. If not, they're pushing it up to the top. And I think that this specific case, which they did expedite to get in front of the court, it's as much about this judge shopping as it is about the 14th Amendment. And I think it might even be more about the judge shopping, the 14th Amendment. Hopefully, maybe we get an answer in a week or two. We don't have to wait till the end of June. We will see. Good question, Lance. Thank you. I have to step aside. I got to play the Springsteen thing. And we will do it. I used to be a Springsteen fan, and he lost me when he lost his mind. And I think he also offended a whole bunch of people with what he did recently. I'll share it with you just around the corner. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. Welcome back to the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my good friend Chris Plant. I mentioned Springsteen, who I thought, I didn't check this, but I thought he was on the list of celebrities that said they were going to leave if Donald Trump won the election. I'll triple check that. We know Rosie O'Donnell left, and Ellen DeGeneres moved to the Lake District in England, but we just heard yesterday she took her house off the market in Los Angeles. I think she's realizing just how crappy life is outside of this country and probably coming back. She's probably going to try and quietly come back. It always happens. But is Springsteen one of the people who said he was leaving? We need to double check that. He was on tour. He is on tour outside of the country. And surprise, surprise, he's trashing America. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Just like REM did when Bush was president. They talked incessantly about how bad he was when they were outside of the country. The Dixie Chicks, who, I'm sorry, they're the Chicks now because, remember, they couldn't say the word Dixie because the word police. And I'm surprised they could say the word chicks because, you know, the Me Too movement and everything. So Springsteen gets added to the pile of those who are trashing the country. His latest screed from on stage, and he even had a little music underneath it.
In my home, the America I love, the America I've written about, that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years, is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration.
Do you know we had a shift change? We actually had an inauguration. Maybe he didn't get the memo on that, but wait, there's more.
In America, they are persecuting people.
Yes, Bruce, they are persecuting people for what? Oh, the Bruce clip locked up. They're persecuting people for, I believe he wanted to say, for speaking their mind, for the First Amendment. That's exactly what he was saying. I'm old enough to remember when Twitter X wouldn't let people on the right side of the aisle speak their mind, wouldn't let people have their say. Springsteen out touring the world, cashing in on all of the fame he has garnered. And I remind everyone, he was just the New Jersey working stiff, right? He was wearing his blue jeans and his denim shirt, and he was up there singing about New Jersey and jug handles and all that stuff while he was getting a tax exemption for having a gentleman farm, which grew nothing, but he took the tax exemption. I think he's a billionaire now, but he's out there trash-talking America from outside of the country. I wonder, especially considering how many Americans voted for Donald Trump, I wonder how many would have accepted that angry rant. And you know he's practiced it because he's got music underneath it. Don't hurry back, Bruce. There are plenty of places, I'm sure, happy to accept you. It's just disgusting. All right, I'm taking a break. It's Mike Opelka for Chris Plant. Third hour on the way. We'll get to Dr. Gorka and more from the president and that crazy air traffic controller coming up on the Chris Plant Show.